ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وما قل وكفى خير مما كثر وألهى، وإنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، عباد الله, to proceed with servants of Allah, I was asked today to speak about the conditions that we are going through as Muslims, circumstances that the Muslim community here and the Muslim communities throughout the world, particularly in the West, may be encountering, and how we should remind ourselves of the importance of steadfastness at times such as these times, the importance of patience, the importance of certainty, having certitude in our religion, in our belief system, and having good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our ummah and ourselves, and being proactive about bringing peace, security, and justice to the world, to the global community, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And these are certainly not easy tasks. And my reflections are my own reflections. And some of you will have other reflections that may be more valuable, but I was asked to share my own reflections, and I will do that, inshallah. The first thing that we have to, whenever we go through times of hardship, distress, adversity, the first thing that we will have to remind ourselves of, and we have to hold on to, is husnul dhanni billah, to have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wisdom of Allah, the justice of Allah, the compassion of Allah, the mercy of Allah. Despite what we may be going through, and certainly some of you may be more affected by this than others. Some of you, for some of you, we may not be going through a lot. But for some of you, the mental anguish and turmoil that they go through every day, particularly the children, particularly the youth that are growing up and having to hear negative things about their religion, negative things about their people, those of us that have co-workers that bring those issues up, or classmates if they go to school. A lot of people are going through some degree of mental anguish. I'm not saying that we're going through systemized or systematic persecution. I'm just saying that we're going through like an intense campaign of disfiguring our religion and demoralizing our people by certain people, not all people. A lot of people are good people, and they are friendly to us, and with those people we have to always strengthen the bridges between us and them. But how do we handle the campaign against our religion and against our identity is what we need to figure out. And the first thing that we have to do, like I said, is to hold on to our belief in Allah's justice and mercy. Husnul dhanni billah should be our companion throughout our journey in this life, from the, throughout any times. times of ease or hardship, we have to always have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muslim reported from Jabir radiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا يموتن أحدكم إلا وهو يحسن الظن بالله تعالى. Let none of you die except while having good thoughts of Allah. Having good thoughts of Allah, meaning having good thoughts of the greatness of Allah, the omnipotence of Allah, the power of Allah, the might of Allah, the mercy of Allah, the compassion of Allah, the wisdom of Allah, and the justice of Allah. Have good thoughts of Allah all the time. Remind yourself that He has a greater wisdom. He has a higher wisdom. Sometimes we can't comprehend it, encompass it. We can never encompass it. But sometimes we can comprehend part of it. Sometimes we may not be able to comprehend it. But what we have to be sure of is that the creator of this universe, the magnificent creator of this magnificent universe, must be all wise, and must be all just, and must be all compassionate as well. And having good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually an attitude, and it has like a great impact on your psyche and your attitude in general. It is not just a matter of belief, it's not just a matter of a mental conviction. It has a great impact on your attitude in life, on your positivity, on your proactivity in life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, as Muslim and Bukhari reported from Abu Hurairah, from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبْدِي بِي فَلْيَظُنَّ بِمَا يَشَاءُ. I will be to my servant as he thinks of me. And in some other authentic editions, so let him think of me as he wishes. I will be to my servant as he thinks of me. So whatever you think of Allah, He will be to you like you think of Him. So think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you wish for Him to be. If you want Allah to be compassionate and merciful towards you, then think of Him as the all-merciful, the all-compassionate. He will be to you as you think of Him. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us. أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبْدِي بِي. I will be to my servant like he thinks of me. So when we have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show us that our thoughts are correct. Allah will prove to us that our thoughts of Him are correct. And when we have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will be reflected on our thoughts of everything else, of His creation. You can never have good thoughts of the creation without having good thoughts of the Creator, the source of all things. So after you have good thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will be able to have good thoughts of the creation. Good thoughts in humanity in general, good thoughts in your ummah, good thoughts in yourself. So, secondly, we need to also have good thoughts of our ummah, the ummah of the believers. Oftentimes we can be extremely harsh against our ummah, and sometimes we get frustrated. So there is a difference between the frustration of the foe and the frustration of the friend. But sometimes the frustration of the friend could be even more detrimental to the psyche, could be even harsher. Sometimes when your mother is frustrated with you, if you're, like a youngster and your mother sometimes gets frustrated with you, sometimes she could be even harsher than other people. Sometimes we, as Muslims, could be harsher in our judgment of our ummah and ourselves than other people. And our ummah is a great ummah. Our ummah is كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. خير أمة أخرجت للناس. It is a خير أمة أخرجت للناس. You are the best nation brought forth to humanity. Despite the ailments that may afflict it, the ummah at large, despite the suffering, the ordeals, the hardships that the ummah may go through, but the moral foundation of this ummah is superb, is great. The moral foundation of this ummah is Islam. If you have doubts in Islam, then you will have doubts in the ummah. Yes, the ummah could sometimes betray the legacy of the religion. betray the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ. Our Ummah will never abandon the legacy of the Prophet. There will be always goodness in it. As the Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith reported by Tabarani, "Ummati kal-matar la yudra awaluha khayrun min akhiruha." My nation is like a goodly rain. You don't know which part of it is best, the first or the last. The first. So there will always be goodness. There will always be good in this Ummah of mine. So don't be harsh in your judgment of this Ummah. Sometimes we ask ourselves, why does it have to be us? Why do we have to do all of this? Why are we causing the whole world all of this agony and chaos and the disruption? It is true, we have to be also introspective and we have to be honest with ourselves. It is true that our Ummah basically trades the whole world in terms of progress and democracy, development, righteous governance. In many aspects, our Ummah trails the rest of the world. However, we have to be also fair to our Ummah. You know, I am not going to blame it on colonialism. The post-colonial era, we have been past, colonialism now by 60 years in some countries, 50, 70, depending on which country you come from. So it is partly our failure as an Ummah to basically through this and get our act together and have some level of success and progress in our countries. But we also have to be kind in our assessment and evaluation, because colonialism destroyed the very structural, the foundational structure of the Ummah in terms of governance, in terms of management, conflict resolution. We have been not able to run our own affairs for a very long time, and after colonialism ended, the regimes that have been in power, that have been in control, may have not been the best regimes that we could have had. Certainly you could say that we are deserving of them, because the rulers will just be a product of the population. And if the population is a good population, the rulers will be good rulers, and vice versa. But at the same time, the one thing that I wanted to remind you of, that it is not only our Ummah that is causing chaos. Someone, a non-Muslim said, if the death, which is like an ugly massacre, and we're not saying this to trivialize it, to belittle it whatsoever, it's an ugly massacre, but if the death of 14 people or the murder of 14 people, some non-Muslim said, was able to radicalize presidential candidates and a large sector of the population, why is it that 20,000 plus bombs would not radicalize the Muslim population? Why is it that wars that have enormous price tags would not radicalize the Muslim population? This is not to justify terrorism. It will never be justified. Islam in particular held us to a moral standard that is superb, superior to any moral standard with regards to this issue. Bukhari and Muslim reported from Hatem al-Haj that he came to the Prophet ﷺ in the Battle of Badr. And this is basically the epic battle of Islam between truth and falsehood, between clear truth and clear falsehood. And Hatem al-Haj, one of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ, came to him and said, "O Messenger of Allah, I was caught by Quraysh. On my way here, I was caught by Quraysh, and I promised them, they refused to release me until I promised them that I would not be fighting with you, that I would be going to Al-Madinah, minding my business, and not fighting with you." Do you know what the Prophet ﷺ said to him? he said to him, نوفي لهم بعهدهم ونستعين الله عليهم. أو وفوا لهم بعهدهم ونستعين الله عليهم. Honor your agreement with them, and we seek Allah's help against them. Honor your agreement. Don't partake in the battle of Badr. You don't fight them. You promised them. You don't fight them because you should honor your agreement, honor your covenant, which shows you the importance that Islam gives to the honoring and respect of all covenants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah An-Nisa says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ يَصْبُرُونَ إِلَىٰ قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ أَوْ جَاءُوكُمْ حَصِرَ صُدُورُهُمْ أَن يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ وَيُقَاتِلُوا قَوْمَهُمْ فَإِنْ اعْتَزَلُوكُمْ فَلَمْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ. No, I'm sorry. This is certainly pertinent, but the other one that is pertinent is in Surah Al-Anfal, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنْ اسْتَنْصَرُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرُ إِلَّا عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ. And if they ask you to give them, to support them, when they are persecuted, when your Muslim fellows are being persecuted by their respective tribes or other tribes, and we ask you to support them for the sake of their religion and for the sake of Allah, support them, except against a people between you and whom there is a covenant. Do not support your fellow Muslims who are being persecuted against the people between you and whom there is a covenant. Until you end the covenant, if you will have to end the covenant. But it shows the greatness of this matter, which is respecting and honoring the covenant in Islam. So terrorism, betrayal, treason, all of these things have no justification in Islam and would have no justification in Islam. But again, at the same time, what I'm trying to say is that it was not the Muslims who created Kaaba throughout the history. It was not Muslim. We're just talking about the last 20, 25, 30 years because of great political turmoil going on in the Middle East and other parts of the Muslim countries. But it was not the Muslims that caused the killing of 60 million people in World War I and World War II. So it was not the Muslims who commit atrocities in all four corners of the world. Yes, the Muslims do commit atrocities, but it's not only the Muslims. So that is important because no matter how much we try to say that this is Islam and Islam is different from the Muslims, for the youth, unless you have this kind of discussion with them, the idea will still come back and haunt them. But why is it that we're the only ones? Because we are portrayed as the only one causing, disruption and causing chaos and mischief on earth. We're not the only ones. Some of us may be, yes, that is true, and that is when it's pertinent to say that this is not Islam, this is what some Muslims may be doing, but it is not a representation of Islam. But if it is only us, then it will be hard to justify. It will be hard to explain to the youth that, yeah, we're the only ones that are causing mischief, but this has nothing to do with Islam. But if it has nothing to do with Islam, then why are we the only ones? We're really not the only ones that are causing disruption of world peace. So that is another part of the puzzle that has to be understood. Allah's wisdom is overarching. Allah's wisdom is above and beyond our ability to encompass. But we have to ask ourselves, so what is the wisdom in what is happening now to us? Like as a community that is going through hardship, that is suffering, that is going through at least some level of mental or intellectual anguish, what is the wisdom behind this? I am not saying that what is happening to us is a blessing in and of itself, is a ni'mah in and of itself, because it's a hardship. But I am saying that within the hardship, there may be some blessings. I'm not saying that it is a blessing. It is not a blessing. Islamophobia is not a blessing. For the name of your religion to be tainted and disfigured, and image of your religion to be disfigured, that is not a blessing. But you could make out of it, or you could make the best out of it. you could basically try to extract any possible blessings therein. Allah told us about this. Allah in Surah Al-An'am, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَى أُمَمٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ فَلَوْلَا إِذْ جَاءَهُم بَأْسُنَا تَضَرَّعُوا وَلَكِنْ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُم وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا في قرية من نبي إلا أخذنا وما أرسلنا من قبلك من نبي إلا أخذنا وما أرسلنا في قرية من نبي من سورة الأعراف إلا أخذنا أهلها بالبأساء والضراء لعلهم يضرعون ثم بدلنا مكان السيئة الحسنة حتى عرفوا وقالوا قد مس آباءنا الضراء والسراء فأخذناهم بغتة وهم لا يشعرون. So Allah says in Surah Al-An'am, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَى أُمَمٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. We have sent the nations before you, and we have taken them up in adversity and hardship. We caused them distress and hardship, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ, so that they may show humility, so that they may show brokenness before Allah, humility, tadarra before Allah, humbleness before Allah. It is our chance to reconnect with Allah. It is our chance to use the opportunity of this time of hardship and time of distress to reevaluate our own personal, individual connection and subsequently collective connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where is our humbleness and our humility? Where is our devotion and our sincerity? Where is our commitment to His deen? If it is lacking, then the first step towards the removal of the stress is to strengthen our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to fix and correct and repair our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah in Surah Al-Naml says, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Who is he who responds to the one in distress when he calls upon him? وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ, and removes his suffering. وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ. So it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ. Is there a God beside Allah? قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Little that you heed. So the first thing that we have to remind ourselves of is that a time of hardship is a time of opportunity for introspection, for reflection, for re-evaluation of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it may be the best thing that happened to you in life, that distress, that hardship, if it brings about closeness and proximity, if it draws you closer to Allah, if it causes your heart to be more in touch with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to moisten your heart, that dry soul, that dried out because of our heedlessness, recklessness, our detachment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If that is our chance to moisten that soul and to bring that heart closer to Allah, then it is a great opportunity that we should not miss. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله وكفى والسلام والصلاة على عباده الذين اصطفى ثم أما بعد. And there are certainly many things that we need to do as a community, as individuals, and as a community collectively. A lot of things that we need to do. On the individual level, the first thing that we have to start with is basically connecting back with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a very personal level, on a very affectionate level. Having this munajah with Allah in the middle of the night, pray, stand up before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 2 rak'ahs in the middle of the night, connect with Him, converse with Him, seek His help, seek strength from Him, that you may be able to encounter all the difficulties in this life. And it would be also important that we increase our certainty in our belief, in our deed. There is nothing like certitude. There is no greater blessing than certainty in what you have. There is nothing that is more comforting to the heart, and to one's psyche, more stabilizing to one's psyche than to have certitude, to have certainty, to have yaqeen, in that which you believe in. And that is another thing that we will, inshallah, embark on, trying to study certain things together with each other, inshallah, tomorrow in the seminar about the signs of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to increase our certainty in the veracity of the message, in the beauty and the greatness of the messenger, and the veracity and greatness of this message in this religion of ours in Islam. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinaba. Allahumma la tusallit alayna bi dhunubina wa la yakhaffuka wa la yarhamuna. Allahumma innaka afuwwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu 'anna ya karim. ربنا آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم لا تدع لنا في هذا اليوم العظيم ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا عورة إلا سترتها ولا حاجة إلا قضيتها. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.